business gathering for the World Economic Forum. When we came to Nigeria to try and build a community here, he rallied the community hosting for us, and he's our best friend today. Please welcome Mr. Tony Elumelu. Thank you.
Time proffering bold solutions. We had some experts in those rooms, we had global shapers, and we spent some time collaborating, all with the desire to take these solutions back to our countries and our communities and actualize them. From there, today, this morning, I would like to say we had the privilege of having Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala with us, and she really charged our community, that we have a seat at the table as young people. We have a seat to proffer solutions. And she encouraged us, she spoke a little bit about bring back our girls, and also encouraged us to take action and to make sure that as young people, we go out there and make things happen. We also had Mr. Tinubu from Rwanda, the group CEO, share with us his personal story along the lines of entrepreneurship, and we were privileged to have the essay to Ban Ki-moon on the post-development agenda, Ms. Amina Mohammed in the room as well. So, without further ado, let me introduce Mr. Tony Elumelu. I could sit here and read his bio, but I'd rather talk about some of the bold solutions that he's done across his trajectory, because that's the theme of this event, that's the theme of this forum. And we all believe in changing the thinking and changing the results. Mr. Tony Elumelu took a distressed financial institution, merged it with another one, and created the biggest bank, UBA, which has over 700 banks across 18 countries on this continent. Mr. Tony Elumelu is known for being a visionary that gets things done. He's not just a thinker, he's a doer, and that's what we're about, so we're privileged to have him in this room. Additionally, we have been undergoing a privatization in Nigeria's power sector, and Mr. Elumelu bought one of the generation assets in a time where Nigeria's power sector is in the eyes of everyone, everyone's focused on it, and this, once again, is visionary, and it's a bold solution because people think power is long-term. People don't understand it, but he's a forefront, he's a pioneer in that industry as well. So guys, I encourage you that as he comes to this stage to speak to us, that we soak things in, that we get our questions ready to be able to ask him. This might be your light bulb situation, this might be your moment, this might be your time to get an idea in your head that potentially could be funded in the future or that you can enact and actualize. So let's give a round of applause to Mr. Tony Elumelu as he comes to the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the founder, Tony Elumelu Foundation, the chairman of Hayes Holding, Mr. Tony O. Elumelu. Put your hands together. Please sit down. You guys make us feel old, eh? This reminds me how it was at Unilag those days. The Akuka in the hall when you had events. Students will be screaming like this. And it was fun, but we've entered the bigger world of business, and we don't get to enjoy this kind of moment and feeling. So it's quite exciting, and it feels good to be here. Before I start, I'd like us to be alive, so we can stand to have observe a minute silence. We want them alive. We want them to come back to us in peace and intact. So let us all just say, God, please, in any language, any dialect, anything we speak, let us pray for God to help for the rescue of our adopted daughters and sisters. So pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Please sit down. So when Katia came up to Lawushi, I think it was last week, about this event, a week ago or two, maybe a week or two ago, my initial reaction was, no, it's not possible. I have a lot of engagements, it's a very busy week because from this night, 8 p.m. tonight to Friday, 10 p.m. is also busy. But as I usually do with my colleagues, I run a certain style, leadership style, which is participatory. So I said, let's sit and let's talk. Those against and those for. So the people for won the day, and that's why I'm here today. I know why they won. They said something that stuck, and I'd like to share with you. They said, Chioyi, you cannot afford to miss this opportunity to talk to the future leaders of this country. And I said, truly, these are global shapers, future leaders of the world. I must advise, we should pay to stand before you. So, I'm told to speak on both solutions. And what I'm going to speak on, I just thought, reflected what should be the bold solution I should speak on. And I said to this kind of audience, there's no need to go theoretical. Let me share with you an experience. And from that experience, go further to propound or share with you what I propounded in my viewpoint as a way to go. Then conclude and do Q&A. I think this for us to sit down and answer questions, right? Or interact. So in 1997, a group of us, I led a team. We're about your age too at the time. No, this is 20 to 30, right? 20 to 30. Is it above 30? Like if you are 35, is this part of it? Yeah? Just 30 is the max. Oh, 33, 34, eh? So then I was 34, so I led a group, team of professionals, and we took over a distressed bank. We took over the distressed bank, and we came up with 3-tier strategic intent. First tier strategic intent was to turn around the distressed bank and make it viable financially. Second tier strategic intent was to become a leading bank in Nigeria. And third tier strategic intent was to become a Pan-African bank with presence in key sectors of the global financial centers. So these were the 3 intents at the time. So fast track to about 14, 15 years afterwards, we achieved those intents. We turned around the bank. We became one of the top 2, in fact, at the time, the leading bank in the country. We grew the bank into a Pan-African bank with presence in 19 African countries, presence in New York, presence in London, and presence in Paris. And in the process, with about 1,000 branches, actually not 700. In Nigeria alone was 750 at the time, before we shut down. Within this period, we observed certain things. That whilst we prospered as shareholders in the bank, we were actually unknowingly making some significant human impact. We saw from the point of view of the local communities where we did business, we engaged with local communities, we paid taxes to local authorities, we helped to drive the local economies, we rented properties, we bought properties, we developed property, we engaged people. For the SMEs, we helped the SMEs through financing. Banking in Nigeria in particular was, at the time, restricted, not restricted, but focused on just the urban, operated in the urban centers. So we branched out, and that was why we created a lot of branches. And for those of you who were students at the time in the country, you will recall that Standard Trust Bank became the bank with the widest online retail network of branches across the country, with over 100 branches, so parents could transfer money across the country to their students, to their children. And above all, we created employment. We got about 25,000 Africans engaged. Primary level of engagement or employment, and if you look at the way we live in Africa, then you can multiply that 25 by 4. So you can see we engage a lot of people. So when I reviewed most of these development, which at the time were intended, what was driving us at the point in time was to make money. We wanted to turn around this bank, democratize banking by way of creating more access, ubiquity, ease of use, etc. We realized that we were actually also creating a certain kind of social momentum and touching lives. And so, led me into what I call today Afro-capitalism. That indeed, the private sector has a key role to play in the development of the African economy, the African continent, that the private sector can make money and also create social impact in a sustainable fashion. And so, putting it straightforward, Afro-capitalism, which I've propounded and which I'm a key proponent of and which I want to propose to you all or share with you all as the big and bold solution that we should all embrace for the development of our continent. Is a call on the private sector to invest long-term in key sectors that can help to create economic prosperity and social wealth. So doing both simultaneously. When we expanded, we made money, but as we made money, we were actually touching mankind's lives in very fundamental and impactful manner. And I think that if all entrepreneurs, if all private sector leaders could do this, we will have a much better African society. And so, as I got this opportunity to share the next big thing, I said, okay, our bold solution, I said, to me, the bold solution to this continent at this point in time is Afro-capitalism. But let me say that a few issues come to mind, and as out in the car coming, I was reflecting on these issues, on the plane, coming to Abuja, and I said I would share this with you. First is the fact that entrepreneurship is key for the development of this continent. And that is why for young global shapers, especially those of you who live in Africa, what you're doing is 35 halls, the different business initiatives in agriculture, technology. We can all help to develop this continent if we embrace the principle, the tenets of Afro-capitalism. If we invest long-term, if we begin to move away from short-termism, trying to invest today for reward tomorrow. If we move into areas that can actually help. Technology is significant, it's huge. It can help create employment, it can help do a lot, provide simplified life and agriculture, and there are key sectors. If we invest in key sectors, in the long run, we'll help to create a much more better society where we don't have people taking our guests from us. So entrepreneurship is key. Next important thing is a realization that no one but us can develop Africa. No one but us will develop Africa. So the African private sector and entrepreneurs, you're part of the African private sector. we need to have this realization, and one, for those of people, African successful business people who believe in saving money or keeping their wealth abroad, let's localize and bring them to Africa and help to develop the continent, the economy of the continent. If you read the theory of money creation starts from savings. And so if you save abroad, you're depriving this continent access to the stock of capital that will be key for developing the continent. Two is there are opportunities. You can become a contractor, you can become an agent to business interests, or you can actually decide to be do what you all are doing here, to be entrepreneurial and help to invest in key sectors. We have a lot of resourceful private sector leaders in Africa, but some of them do not have the mind to go into key sectors. Like we have industrialization is totally almost absent in this part of the world. We are endowed with natural resources, but we do not process our natural resources. So we need to step up and help to develop this sector. The next point is the fact that as successful African private sector leaders, we owe it to all of you to help either mentor or support you by way of seed capital in your businesses or by leadership development. At the Tony Elumelu Foundation, very soon we'll be unfolding certain plans we have to touch 10,000 entrepreneurs across Africa. We need government to help us create the right environment. The kind lady who introduced me talked about the power investment in Nigeria. Actually, the power privatization in Nigeria, that to me is a true test of African capitalism. We invested in power because it's commercially viable, but equally important is this impact on society, the economy of the continent. By investing in power, it's a long-term investment, it's a key sector of the African economy, it has commercial viability, but most importantly, it will help bring increased access to electricity, which you all need to succeed in your business. The highest cost, operating cost for entrepreneurs on the continent is electricity costs. It takes almost 60% of the total cost of doing business. So if we could take that out, then not only would we be making profit, we would also be helping you to succeed, and that is much more sustainable. So government must play its own role. But above all, I tell you this time, everything you're doing and what African capitalism stands for should lead us to the creation of employment on the continent. We have security challenges on the continent because of lack of hope, lack of economic hope, because of poverty. So if we can all, both the extremely successful private sector leaders and yourselves, actually the economy, the bedrock of every economy is in the SMEs. And from today's SMEs that you have the multinationals of tomorrow. So if you all succeed, then we can all succeed together. We all help to create employment, jobs, so that we'll have a much more peaceful society where no one will be taking our guests away. So I'd like to pause here and take comments. But in the nutshell, my message in terms of the big solution or the bold solution is that the private sector and yourself, or where you're part of private sector, we should work together to create an enabling environment for people who have ideas like you to succeed, help mentor you, help create access to finance for you, and help create platforms that will give you the partnerships that will make you succeed. So that by so doing, we all will help in developing our continent. But remember, in your investment decisions, long-term investment, invest in key sectors, and let's make sure that they all help us to make money for sustainability, but more importantly, to touch mankind by creating jobs and doing other things. Thanks so much. And
Thank you very much. So my name is Jake Okechukwu from the Abuja Hub of the Global Shapers community. Tony Elumelu is one man that I characterize as an erudite avant-gardist. You know, he's one man who is transforming Africa with powerful solutions, really, really bold solutions. In fact, he's the inventor and originator of Afri-capitalism. I'm sure it's been trademarked already. So, just like Joyce mentioned, in this room we have represented over 25 countries in Africa. These are young leaders from over 33 hubs. And someone's already raising up her hand. I can see her, she's from the Accra hub. One of our pillars at Shape Africa 2014 is on entrepreneurship and small and medium enterprises. Small and medium enterprises in Africa contribute to about 90% of the enterprises here, but contribute less than 20% to the GDP. And something you said here, which is very powerful, is how we can use Afri-capitalism to develop and promote businesses in Africa. In fact, from what you said, I wrote about 5 to 6 bold solutions. And I'll leave all the very technical questions to shapers here, but I just have one question to ask you. You are a business mogul, a philanthropist, a father, husband, mentor. You sit on so many boards. You're a consultant, advisor, writer, a philosopher. In fact, the list is endless. So I want you to tell us now, what is the typical day like in the life of Tony Elumelu? From when you wake up, that's if you sleep at all, to when you go to bed. Just run us through that. Okay,
it's very interesting. But by the way, I must commend the public address system here. So you guys do. So the organizers of this event, thumb up for you. Anyway, so it's quite, it's usually a very busy schedule. But let me say that I try to combine the various interests in one's life. You know, so as a leader, I believe you must lead by example. What you don't do or can't do, then don't hold your people. I believe a leader should lead in a manner that is exemplary. People must, it's what you do, you should expect your colleagues to do. So, because of that, there's a certain level of discipline in me that drives me to operate in a certain way. So, officially, I try to make sure that I am there to provide the leadership that is expected of me by people I work with. As at home, I try also to be a good father, a good husband. I try to spend time with my family. I try, honestly, there are certain things, you know, even if I say so, that I do, that I'm sure people will be shocked to know. So take, for instance, last week, my wife and my first daughter traveled to LA. So I had to take my other 4 daughters to LA. So we had to fly from Lagos, just I alone. I said, no nanny. We checked in together, sat, I put them to bed, covered them on the flight. We got to London, I took them to the cabana to have a bath, supervise everything. Took them from there to flew 11 hours to LA. Just me alone. Are you cold? What do you want to eat? So I try to balance all of this. But typical day, therefore, is I wake up, so every day I exercise, but when I, most times, at times I exercise, I go to work, I come back, but I don't have a social life. So it's home office, my movement in Lagos is home office airport, home office airport. Occasionally, I can just finish a meeting, just rush to a wedding, come back again, but basically that.
Wow. I can see some girls already crying. They're like, oh. Okay, now we're going to get questions. People are, in fact, we've had so many people here from yesterday to today. Everyone has been asking, when are you coming? When are you coming? In fact, see them already raising up their hands. So I don't think we can answer all the questions, but.
That's on Ghana, long-term investment. First is, we have seen people that started as traders that today have become global manufacturers, industrialists. So I cannot even say that that is not a key sector. Let's put it this way, that every sector that generates economic opportunities, okay, both for the investors and for society at large, is a key sector. But what's important is the approach that we adopt. Long-term mentality is always very good. So I tell you the case of taking over a defunct bank. I said, let's fast forward 15 years later. Okay, so we didn't do what we did, or we would not have done what we did if we had a short-term orientation. Short-term orientation could have led us, maybe when we needed to save to be able to reinvest, then we want to eat everything, consume everything, and not be in a position to reinvest. So long-term horizon in thinking, especially at your level, is very, very important. It should guide your selection of investors in your business. If you're about to admit investors in your business, you make sure that there's alignment of interest in terms of, sir, ma, this business, this is my vision, 10-year plan. I hope you would have patience for us to do this. But at times, investors also put so much enormous pressure on entrepreneurs that you derail, because some people want short term, they just want to exit immediately, and that can be a challenge for you in trying to grow your business. If you enter a business that has economic opportunities and creates economic access opportunities for the society, you and the society, ultimately, you should succeed. I think that entrepreneurs have brighter or greater success chances if they think long term than for short term. Then for my friend, yes, we're thinking quite a lot. I did say that we are in the process of launching an entrepreneurship program, which in our view, in the way it's conceptualized now, should help to create 10,000. We want to impact 10,000 entrepreneurs in 10 years across Africa. That's average of 8,000 a year. And we, in the process, we hope that we'll achieve 20% success or 30% at the end of the day. 10 years, if we have helped to grow significant, solid entrepreneurs, 2,000 or 3,000 entrepreneurs across Africa, and if those people also create their own businesses that become the UBS of tomorrow, employing 25,000 people, then we would achieve, helped the continent a lot. And to do this, there are a lot of things we're coming up with, boot camps, maybe 2 weeks a year, we put people together, we train people, and we support them with seed capital to enable them to take off. And we mentor them from time to time through various approaches we're coming up with. We believe that should help. Then the alumni network is interesting. I wrote a memo to one of my colleagues about Catch and Co. just this weekend, this last weekend, about the alumni network and how to make it functional. And what you talked about, is actually speaks to the kind of ideas that I have. It's not just staying in touch with people writing mail. No, there are so many ways to even create this kind of platform so that people sit together, compare notes, and see what they can do jointly. And a lot that can happen. So, great idea. We're thinking about it. And Kacha is listening. Yeah. Oh, no, let's go to this side too.
Okay.
sorry, I think I should be responding because we might lose the essence of some questions if we wait. So, before I tell you what I think the foundation, sit down please, what I think the foundation can do or should do is a general advice to you and to everyone here, all of you global shapers, aspiring entrepreneurs, existing entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs who are trying to scale up. A key success factor at this your level in particular, in addition to thinking long term, is scaling up in phases. You know, so you heard me when I spoke. I said when we started in 1997, we defined a 3-tier strategic intent. And you see the way we scaled it: first, let's come out of our situation; 2, let's be relevant in Nigeria; 3, the African continent. And we took them one step at a time. At times, even Professor John Cotter, the author on change management, will tell you, define short milestones in change management. And as you accomplish the first stage, it encourages you to move to the second phase and the third phase. Otherwise, what you end up achieving ultimately, as said, you might be discouraged because it can look so huge and that you think, how do I start? So I heard about 1,000 houses, 1,000, 1,500. How about starting smaller and moving up? You know the story of eBay and so many other businesses. Most businesses, actually, great businesses start, even Steve Jobs. They start little, then you move to the next one. And so my advice to everyone who is in business, in fact, you can't be more audacious in business than I am. I'm very audacious and both, but I sequence it in a certain way. Okay, so I would like to say that. Now, what the foundation can do for you is, and Katja is here too, is she represents the foundation, is they can give you some mentoring, some advice. I can also talk to you, one-on-one advice, etc. Because at times, if you do research, they say access to capital is one of the concerns SMEs have. It's true. However, we have also seen other factors that are stronger than access to finance. Some of these seemingly little issues create problems for entrepreneurs who are trying to start. So it's not just access. So it would be nice if we can have a phone session or something to talk more with you. Next one. That I am not in a hurry to forget is, as I said, so when we took over the distressed bank, I was 34 years old, and I was the youngest in the history of Nigeria in terms of bank CEO, the youngest CEO ever. And so, and people saw you, in fact, we were called cowboys. And banking is a trust game. And so if people call you cowboy, and you're in a trust business, there's trouble already. So that was a bigger, so every time it was, how do we, but that puts a lot of positive pressure on us and a determination to prove people wrong, that we are not. And so we're happy that in life, later in life, we got national honors at a very young age, in recognition of what we've done, and so many things followed. So people started, and we did a transaction of the merger that could never have happened in the history of the country by the same cowboy and co. So that, what they used to call it, the cowboy used to call it, now became or translated or transformed to respect for us later. So I would say that is it. Now, how do we apply that to yourselves? People will snare at you. People will, depend on your sector. People will, we've seen bigger. I mean, look at Steve Jobs when he started. Who knew he would get to where he got to? It's almost always like that. And if I think if people don't even denigrate or deride or look down on you, maybe you don't succeed, because that's put some pressure on you to say, I'm going to prove them wrong. So for you, if you be determined, be sure of your destination, stay focused, be committed, make sacrifices, work very hard, because hard work, I say, does not kill, it helps you to even succeed. Then success will definitely come. Now, the second question about Youth Bank, again, an advice. I preach sustainability. I do not preach just, one point, I don't believe that Africa today needs aid. I think that what we need, is economic empowerment. we need to build self-reliance. We need to kill dependency. And so in your business, in as much as it sounds good to do things that might appear populist, we should make sure that whatever we do is sustainable. Because that is what helps ultimately. You know. So I would say if you're setting up a youth bank, you want to give unsecured loans, it's a recipe for disaster. However, you can start again in phases, give secured loans, and maybe when as you build up capital year 2, year 3, for instance, it's okay, we're going to risk 20% of our capital. 20% of our capital, we can give it unsecured loans, use certain parameters, certain algorithms, certain credit risk scoring system to do that, but not collateral. I believe that's okay. But the one you want to give unsecured loan might be a bit tough. The Elumelu Foundation, what we want to do that will touch 10,000 lives, we are ready to take some risks to help encourage entrepreneurs. But for you, who just started, I would say, let's be guided a bit. Okay?
Okay, so...
One pertinent, sit down please, and all the questions you have been asking are very intelligent and truly reflects the caliber of people in this hall. So, your question, I think there are two issues. Economic integration is important, linking us up together is very important, but there are platforms that will make this happen. So for me, instead of allocating, I would think first, how do we put the building blocks in place, the foundation, the platform that will enable us achieve real economic integration across the continent. At times, people talk about trade, intra-Africa trade 10% of total trade with global trade, and it can't be otherwise for a variety of reasons, in addition to the fact that we don't manufacture what we need. It's the point that even transportation intra-Africa is a challenge. I don't know how the many stops you took to get, okay, Egypt, you flew straight to this place. So we need to put the infrastructure in place. And two, we still have a certain colonial, not mentality, but shackles that is still there with us. This partition of Africa, the scramble for the partition of Africa is still very much there in the way we do things as Africans. So this is where and why I call on the African Union. Today's African Union should not be an African Union that is pro-independence era. It should be an African Union that is post-independence era, an African Union that should advocate economic freedom, economic empowerment for the continent, and therefore begin to look at the planks that we need to put in place if we must achieve the kind of economic integration that we need to drive the continent across. So that, I think, ladies are clapping. But didn't ladies say what men can do, women can do better? So why do we have to discriminate? No, I think we note it as an unsolicited but informed input into what we are planning about these 10,000 people to see how more gender liberal or female it can be. But let me say that in our businesses, in our group, we have females who occupy very senior positions. The United Bank for Africa, UBA, for instance, has about 5 female directors on the board. One of our businesses, the Avon Medical has a CEO, female CEO. Avon HMO has a female CEO. And if you look at the crew with me here, they're largely female, only one male. So personally, we believe in, I personally think it's good to encourage ladies. And we've seen that African ladies do compete and are very, very strong, well educated, exposed, and they do very well. But I note your advice. We take it as an informed input into what we're thinking of doing and see how we can, whilst accepting that one man can do better, see how we can tweak it a bit. Okay, last question. Who gets asked? Others. So for me, I'd like to just say that there are entrepreneurs who live in Africa, who operate in Africa. I consider myself an entrepreneur, and I've done business. We have invested both across Africa and even the US. And we have interacted with other entrepreneurs. And I think that if we had the kind of operating environment that others have, we might even be global entrepreneurs. So to start with, we should remove it in our mentality that we need to have any unique attributes to be seen to be globally competitive as entrepreneurs. So we are, in fact, despite the institutional rigidities that we face every day in this part of the world, we are doing well. So imagine how we would fare if those didn't exist. But having said that, everyone almost accepts the fact that Africans are quite entrepreneurial, extremely resilient, and we stay focused on what we want to achieve. And for me, I would like the African entrepreneur to, the truth is we have greater opportunity today to change the world than even our counterparts on that day, because we live with certain challenges, and he that wears his shoes knows where it pinches. And we know how to solve those problems that exist in our environment. And those problems, if we solve them, can take us to the rest of the world. I saw the recent Time 100 celebration, Time 100 awards, and this African lady, Uri, is it Uri? The Ujahidi, the lady from Kenya. Uri, yeah, I said, wow, she was one of the honorees. She's an African entrepreneur. So we have it. Last.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Obianu Jokpara. I'm a
Thanks
beneficiary.
for community and for making us mini Afro-capitalists. Please put your hands together once more. So right now we'll be taking pictures with you, sir.